Alright, Dokuvan stream again. This time I will be going over the promos because they are kind of relevant to the decks that we actually play, along with some generics, especially the Dark State Ace unit. So let's begin. So first up, before we actually begin, here are the promo reprints. Pretty good here, especially just another way to get especially the B Hero one, in which now we start off with an Alden Bastion support with Knight of Straight Shot Ilted, which is a grade 3. We're taking power in the skills. Count Rearguard. If your Vanguard is at least a grade 3 Bastion or Alden, this unit gets boost, which is pretty helpful for both decks, being a high booster basically, especially in Bastion's case, being a grade 3. But the second skill is auto backward rearguard once per turn when either your other unit is placed on rearguard during battle or a unit is stood at the same column as this unit. If your Vanguard is at least a grade 3 Bastion or Alden, stand this unit, and if you stood at the end of turn, put this to Soul. Bastion's case, it's going to restand the front row unit. Alden's case, you're going to superior call front row unit, which is of course going to be pretty nice since it's just going to be a big booster. But not only that, going to Soul, since both deck does use Soul as a resource. In which finally, auto, when placed on Guardian, choose a grade 3 either Bastion or Alden from your ride deck and reveal it, and if the revealed card is either a grade 3 or your Vanguard is either Bastion or Alden, shield plus 5k. Once again, another defensive grade 3, which is very helpful, but also very helpful for the offensive side. Too bad it doesn't get the intercept ability. It would have been nice if it also gets intercept, but regardless, it is just pretty good for both respective decks. And into a Gramphia support, Shower turned it. Grade 1, you can power in the skills. Act Rearguard Drop Soul. If your Rearguard has a Noble Rose token, cost Soul Blast 1, choose your Noble Rose token and perform one of the following abilities. Put this card face up as a plant gauge for that unit, or if your card with the same card name was not put to the bottom of the deck this turn, put the top 3 cards to your deck face up as plant gauges for that unit, and then put this card to the bottom of the deck. Basically, plant gauge charge for your Noble Rose token, which is actually pretty nice because it actually needs those Noble Rose tokens to get stronger. In which finally, count plant gauge as a Noble Rose token. The Noble Rose token that this card is being gauged for cannot be affected by your opponent's card abilities. Obviously, always pretty nice to protect your Noble Rose token, especially on the part where if you have none, you can't really protect it anymore, but also not being affected by everything else is also pretty helpful. And finally, to the last skill, auto, when this card is discarded as plant gauge, bind this card. This ability is mandatory, so of course it's just mainly not to get abused by the first skill, because the first skill either puts this as gauge or just gauge charges even more. But overall, a good new addition for Gramphia because of how much gauges it could generate and also protects your Noble Rose token. And then one for Hisserit, Fortune Guardian PU, which is grade 2 and taking power on the skill is auto. Either at the end of battle, this card attack during your turn, or when this card is discarded during your hand during the turn. If your Vanguard is Hisserit, you may put this card to your Soul. Just a way to get you Soul, which is always pretty good with the second skill. Act Drop Zone. If your Vanguard is at least a grade 3 Hisserit and you do not have a rearguard with the same name as this unit, cost count plus 1, call this your rearguard, and then plus 5k power in the end turn. And if your opponent's Vanguard is at least grade 3, can also attack from the back row. Yep, once again, another unit that can just superior call itself while also being an additional attacker. What's not to love? And into a Dark State card, Ghostly Demon Lady Florist, which is grade 2 at taking power on the skill list. Auto, when discarded from your hand during your turn, you may put this to Soul, which is nice as a generic discard fodder. And then the second skill is auto rearguard once per turn. When this card attacks a Vanguard, choose up to one card from your drop zone and put it to Soul, and your opponent's Vanguard is at least grade 3 plus 5k. There is one card that does this but a little better, but it has to be restricted on your grade 3 turn. But the upside about this is that this could be discard fodder to put to Soul as well. So for Dark State decks, this is actually not too bad. It's just personal preferences. And then to a new base for B Hero, Galactic Base Ias. It's a set order base, of course, and when you play this, you put it to the order zone and act order zone once per turn, cost rest this card, choose a B Hero from your drop zone that does not have the same name as a card from your order zone, and scout it into your base. Additional scouting is always very nice because that's basically your resource engine for the deck, in which the second skill is act order zone. If your base has 4 or more cards, put this stand card into your Soul and then choose up to one grade 2 or less normal unit that is B Hero from your drop zone and put it in your hand, and then choose one of your Vanguards as B Hero and then reduce the cost of its ability by 1 counterblast. B Heroes do use a lot of counterblast, so just having a way to save counterblast is always pretty nice, and the extra scouting is always pretty nice as well, while also putting it to Soul. The only thing is you do still want to have at least 3 bases, so just be careful with this, but it is pretty nice that you can recycle some of your resources and even just getting some resources saved up while also setting up your resources. So this is overall a good new addition for B Heroes. And then we go to an Orphis set order, a new one, finally, Boundary of Twilight, which is a grade 1 world card. Yes, a grade 1 world card, finally for Orphis. So the skill is auto. When placed in order zone, choose a grade 3 Orpheus from your right deck, reveal it, and if either that's a grade 3 or your Vanguard is at least a grade 3 Orpheus, draw a card. This is just going to replace Eclipse Moonlight because grade 1 turn drawing is way better, and this is searchable in your grade 1 turn, by the way, and the cost is free, which is another thing. But anyway, second skill. It's just basically 1 world card becomes Dark Knight, 2 world cards becomes Abyssal Dark Knight, standard for every world card, in which it has its third skill where act order zone. If your Vanguard is at least a grade 3 Orpheus, and you did not put this card to the order zone this turn, cost Soul Blast 1, rest this unit, call Shadow Army token to rearguard, and then this card's name is changed to Casting Shadows in the Dark Knight until the end of turn. The name changed to another card that doesn't exist, but it's actually relevant for Paloxus Dragon because it requires you to have different name stuff in the order zone, so changing its name will actually let you play another copy from the drop zone with Paloxus Dragon. So yeah, this card is just overall good for Orpheus because 1, it's a grade 1 set order for World, which is something the deck never has, and now 1 extra set order just means just another set order to use as a cost basically, especially if you're just sticking with Regis. Having the 4 set orders is just very big. And 2, free draw and an axe skill that gives you a token, always really good. It's basically 2 grade 2 set orders combined into 1. And now to the Festival Collection stuff, starting off with the Dragon Empire generic, Fierce Flame Dragon Almdius. It's a grade 3 with 13 power with the skill of Rearguard Guardian. This card gets Intercept and Shield plus 5k, and I'm pretty sure all the generics are going to have this stat line and this skill. With the next skill being unique, where Auto Rearguard once per turn when this card attacks, if your opponent's Vanguard is at least grade 3, cost Energy Blast 3, choose one of your opponent's Rearguards, retire it, and this card gets 5k power in the battle. But if your damage zone has at least 4 cards, and you personalize during the turn, this unit gets another 5k power for each grade of that retired unit. It's just simple energy retire for basically any Dragon Empire deck, but just some extra power just depending on what timing and turn it is, while also being a 5k shield for basically guarding or intercepting. These are just run in your own leisure. And now finally to the Dark State Ace unit, Funeral Procession of the Fallen Valak, which is a grade 2 with 10 power, and like I said, it's probably going to be for all of them. Once again, Ace unit can only be once a deck, and a unique skill which is only a 1 time per game, where auto, when placed on rearguard other than during battle, same condition as the Dragon Empire one, so probably all of them. This unit gets plus 5k power in turn, and then cost Energy Blast 3, look at top starting cards of your deck to choose up to 1 card from one of them to put to soul, and then force over deck, then choose a card from your soul with grade less than or equal to your Vanguard and call it to rearguard. Once again, not too crazy, but it is pretty good that you can choice soul charge from the top 7, which is actually a lot more than many Dark State cards. And on top of that, you get a free call basically, which the card that you choose to soul charge could always be the one that you want to call as well. So this is actually pretty good. And then the second skill, where auto rearguard when this card attacks, if your opponent's Vanguard is at least grade 3 plus 5k, and if your soul has at least 5 cards or you soul blasted at least 3 cards this turn, plus another 5k. So once again, a unique skill that kind of helps out a bit, just depending on certain decks, and of course extra high power attack on its own, just like the other one. Pretty sure all of them are going to have something like this, but once again it just depends on what deck you play it in, and it is personal preferences if you want to play it or not. And next week we got Alfred Encounter along with the Stokia Ace unit. For Alfred, I am kind of curious how they're going to design it. Are they going to design it more like V where it's related to Blaster Blade, or they're going to go by the original where it gets power for based on how many rearguards you have? And so that's it for this with the Dark State Ace unit along with a bunch of promos. What do you guys think of it? The promos are just good for their respective decks, and these are actually some good promos, so they might get really expensive once again. As for the generics, Dragon Empire, I am expecting something like this for all the nations as well. Just another option for you to play in a certain deck if you wish to do so, and that goes for the same as for Dark State. But in that, there's not much to say, and see you all next time.